What's up, blockheads? So with Harley Davidson coming out with some new bikes, one of the things I always go over is obviously the platform, the engine, the power plant. At the moment, Harley Davidson is putting Milwaukeeeights in most of their larger bikes, you know, the big V-twins as they say. There's a bunch of changes that they made to this engine versus their previous style, which was, you know, just air-cooled. Obviously, there's been just the whole evolution of engines from Harley Davidson's, from like the knuckleheads, the panheads, shovelheads, the Evo. So now they have the Milwaukee 8. And I thought I'd just make a tech specs video regarding the Milwaukee 8 to kind of go over and have all the information for it in one place. Now, before we get too far into it, if you guys enjoy motorcycle content such as test rides, moto vlogs, gear reviews, and all that, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Hit that bell icon as well so it sends you notifications of future uploads and activity. So the Milwaukee 8 engine is the 9th generation of what they call big twin engines, or big V-twins, developed by Harley Davidson, and it was first introduced in 2017. Now, the reason they call it a Milwaukee 8 is because there's actually 8 valves total, so there are 4 valves per cylinder. Also, Harley decided to go back to a single camshaft configuration on this one, like they used in previous big V-twins from 1936 to 1999. These engines also have internal counterbalancers, whereas the twin cams were only counterbalanced in the softail models when the engine was rigidly mounted. Counterbalancers in these take away about 75% of that Harley shake. Now, originally I heard they were able to do away with 100% of that Harley shake, however, people didn't like it, and so they basically dialed it back a bit. You still receive a little bit of shake, you know, so you can still feel the bike moving, but it's not as bad as before 2017. Like, I own a 2017 Dyna Lowrider S, and that bike shakes quite a bit, but it gives the bike a certain feeling, so whenever they did away with it entirely, people didn't like it, so they added some shake back, I guess. It's kind of weird to think of it like that. So the Milwaukee 8 currently comes in 3 configurations. You've got the 107 cubic inch, 114 cubic inch, and a 117 cubic inch. All the engines have 8 valves and 2 cylinders in the traditional V-twin configuration of 45 degrees. They still have the fins to be air-cooled, but they're also loyal-cooled and activate valves with push rods. In terms of power, the 107 cubic inch is claimed to have 108 to 112 foot-pounds of torque, and then you've got the 114 cubic inch claimed to have about 119 foot-pounds of torque, and with Harley that's usually about 3,000 to 3,500 RPM. And then the 117 cubic inch, which is a standard on CVO models, they claim has 124 foot-pounds of torque, and the rear wheel power of 93.75 horsepower at 4,870 RPMs and 112 foot-pounds of torque at 3,400 RPM. As compared to previous models, the exhaust and intake flow capacity on the Milwaukee 8s is increased by 50% over the twin cam models. In terms of weight, while it weighs about the same as the engines before it, the models of the Milwaukee 8 actually increase acceleration by about 10%. 0 to 60 for the 107 versus the 103, and 8% 0 to 60 for the 114 versus the 110. So previously Harley offered standard the 103 cubic inch instead of a 107 cubic inch, and a 110 cubic inch instead of a 114 cubic inch, so they bumped it up. So 103 versus 107, the new Milwaukee 8 107, 10% faster, and the 110 versus the 114 is 8% faster. And they actually report fuel economy being increased. So as I said previously, it is oil-cooled. It has oil-cooled heads. So to deal with the heat issue, Harley reduced the exhaust gas temperature, which allowed for a more comfortable ride. One of the things that whenever Harley was researching and asking people what they would want to see in a new engine, one of the things that people brought up was heat, you know, and the previous air-cooled only engines, they get very, very hot. Like I said, I would know as I own a 110 cubic inch 2017 Dyna Lowrider S, and in stop and go traffic, that thing is roasting your legs sometimes. Air-cooled engines are not meant to set still. So Harley was able to reduce the exhaust gas temperature by what is reported as 37.7 degrees Celsius or 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which Obviously, that makes a very big difference, 100 degrees. They were able to make this possible by relocating the catalytic converters further from the area like where you sit, from the front of the bike. So regarding cooling as well, like I said, oil-cooled heads, you've got this radiator between the frame, between the tubes in the front of the frame, right behind the front fender, which helps to cool oil as it brings heat from the heads, which is not something that Harley has done previously. Stock, you are able to purchase aftermarket oil coolers or even OEM oil coolers, but they usually set off to the left side of the frame or below it. So having it in line within the frame cleans it up, makes it look really nice. Whenever Harley released the Milwaukee 8, they did give some outlets the opportunity to test ride and review it, and it was received well. The reviews, for the most part, have been positive. People report a better ride quality while still keeping the Harley feel, which is what I was talking about with the counterbalancers and the shake. So the media outlets basically reported noticing a reduction in the heat output from the engine, which I can definitely confirm having ridden them. There is much less heat than its predecessors. This basically allows the rider to ride more comfortably. Overall, media outlets and people that have owned them, for the most part, have said that the engine is an improvement over previous Harley Davidson engines. They basically were able to keep the same weight, but it runs cooler, it puts down more power, and is more fuel efficient. Those are three good things right off the bat. Further talking about each model, such as the 107, the 114, and the 117, the 107 uses precision oil-cooled cylinder heads. If we look at this photo, the top view of the engine shows stiff tubular rockers, and those operate two valves. The valve clearance is maintained by hydraulic roller tappets, and there's one central spark plug and one side plug per cylinder. When talking with Alex Bosmosky, who's Harley Davidson's chief engineer of new products, he said that it's a brand new motor, tip to tail. He's got 34 years with the company and was involved with both Evo and twin cam development as well. As previously stated, cooler operation was one of the goals for this new engine. They actually made the valve combustion chambers shallower, which causes less combustion heat to be picked up, and more heat is dissipated by the large area head cooling fins. In this picture from Harley Davidson, you can see the dual spark plugs and short exhaust port. Further talking about keeping it nice and cool, another approach they took to controlling the heat was to change the design so it takes less heat from combustion, which actually helps to increase power and efficiency by keeping that heat where it works, in hot, high-pressure combustion gas that presses the pistons down to drive the crankshaft. So this new 8-valve engine did away with the large surface area of the traditional deep modified Hemi 2-valve combustion chamber and basically replaced it with an almost flat chamber of minimum surface area with 4 valves. From switching from a modified Hemi 2-valve to nearly flat 4-valve, the surface area that the heat would get in through and pistons was substantially reduced. The overall airflow capacity of the 8-valve is said to be 50% greater than that of previous engines, and the throttle body actually now has a 55mm bore. Regarding having more spark plugs, faster combustion from 2 spark plugs per cylinder is one method that the Milwaukee 8 uses to achieve cooler temps, as it exposes heads and pistons to flame for shorter amounts of time. Another thing that Harley Davidson did to try and control the heat was hours of flow and combustion simulation studies for what is reported to have been thousands of hours. The engineer Bosmosky said that the ignition timing in this cooler running engine is, quote, more advanced more of the time. So since these new Milwaukee 8 engines have larger displacement but take up less heat from combustion and basically have strategic exhaust valve cooling, it's said that they can safely operate at high compression ratios, now as high as 10.5 to 1, which produces greater power and torque. As previously mentioned, because of that, the new bikes are said to deliver 10% more torque, and in terms of 0 to 60, they're 2 to 3 bike lengths faster than their predecessors, and 1 to 2 lengths quicker in higher gears from, say, like a 60 or an 80 roll. Who the hell is doing an 80 roll? Now, as with any new product, the engine has had some issues, but Harley's been very quick to fix them. Overall, like I said, we're talking more displacement, more power, but it runs cooler. With the new bikes that I've test rode, specifically the Softails, I believe they've changed up something with the transmission as well, and the way they shift is great. It's a very positive, you feel a very positive click whenever you shift up or down. And after riding them pretty hard, you can definitely tell that there's a difference in the heat. Overall, what experience I've had with them, I like them. I know John Maxwell, the Harley Tech, you guys be sure to go check him out. He is talking about trading his bike for one of them with the Heritage, I believe. So if Harley technician is wanting one, you know it's good, right? Anyways, that's just some quick tech specs. I'll be sure to link to some articles down in the description below so you guys can read through it as well if you're interested. Or also, like I said, go check out John Maxwell's channel. He's got access to these things as he's a Harley technician, pulling them apart, working on them, all that good stuff. If you guys have any questions, be sure to post them up down in the comments below. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. If you're not subscribed already, hit the subscribe button as well. Hit that bell icon so it sends you notifications for future uploads and activity. And until next time, you guys ride safe out there, stay vigilant, and I'll catch y'all later.